Welcome back to Coffee Time. Today we have Alec Baldwin on. Pew. Kidding. We have Nick, the Hungry Handgunner. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Coffee Time. I'm Nate, and today we have a very special guest, the Hungry Handgunner, Nick.
Hey,
how are you, brother?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Nick, tell our audience, tell our viewers a little bit about your YouTube channel, what you talk about, and how you got started.
So I'm the Hungry Handgunner on YouTube. I started out I was doing written articles. After my dad passed away, I needed to put that energy and those emotions somewhere. Figured I would do something constructive. So I started doing written articles. People wanted me to make videos. So I started thinking about how to do things differently than other gun channels. And one of the big things I saw was a lot of gun reviewers. They would get a gun, they'd look at it and give you a review. And it wasn't based on any kind of real world use or high round counts. And I said, well, I want to put a gun through its paces, see how it holds up after a year, 1,000 rounds of carrying it and stuff like that. So the ammo crunch has kind of made that a little harder now, but that's still what I set out to do. So it takes a little longer to get the reviews, but.
Yeah, awesome. And I've noticed on your channel, you kind of talk about a variety of things, a lot about the media and laws and, gun restrictions.
Yes.
Do you find those to be your most popular videos?
They do end up being that way because they are controversial. And the way those came about was people would ask questions in the comments, and the more I would get a particular question, I was like, well, I'll just make a video about it. And when you get into the politics side of it or high profile things, people do get, there's dissenting opinions and stuff, but I try to give the most accurate info I can. So a lot of times the media doesn't necessarily represent us as gun owners in the best light or even factually, so I try to set the record straight.
Yeah, I find that a lot of people on the media don't even know what they're talking about. I watched one of your shorts the other day, and it was like a clip from a news blurb, and it was basically a dude shooting a shotgun, and the lady was narrating saying, this gentleman's shooting an AR-15. They don't even know the difference between an AR-15 and a shotgun.
No, and the scary thing is that then that emotion-driven and non-facts-based stuff is then used to put laws in place.
Yeah, that's insane to me. Well, let's dive right into a controversial topic.
All right, I'm down.
Okay, Alec Baldwin of Elena Hutchins. Seems like a massive tragedy. Mm-hmm. Something like that shouldn't happen on set.
No.
What do you think about that?
So the 4 universal gun safety rules: treat every weapon as if it's loaded, keep it pointed in a safe direction, keep your finger off the trigger until it's time to fire. You have to break multiple rules at the same time for somebody to get hurt. And that's what happened there. And I realized that they were using prop guns, and there comes a point, I'm sure, when you get complacent. But there have been other actors killed with blank rounds. So safety's still got to be.
Yeah, was it Brandon Lee?
Yes.
Yeah, Brandon Lee. What baffles me is that they had an armorer on set who loaded that gun with live rounds.
But she shook it, and she heard a rattling, so it was safe.
Safe. Yikes. And she was relatively young. I think she was in her low 20s. How does somebody like that get a job in the industry with absolutely no experience?
If the bar for firearms knowledge is here, and you say your average gun owner that takes firearm safety is here, and then your Hollywood bar for gun knowledge is here, you can get somebody with a very low bar of knowledge that seems like they know a great deal compared to the actors and actresses. So to them, she probably did seem like an expert. And they were probably comfortable with her handling that, when in reality, I don't think she really knew enough that she needed to.
Yeah, that's really a tragedy and a shame. Well, I think that what we should really focus on is some education. Mm-hmm. listening to Alec Baldwin and all the interviews that he's done, after having made so many movies with guns, he still actually has no knowledge on gun safety.
No, but is very opposed to gun ownership for folks like us.
Yeah.
And that was part of what really frustrated me about the whole thing. Here's a man that has decried people like me for carrying a firearm, keeping firearms around for personal protection. And I've never shot and killed anybody, least of all accidentally. And he did. And it's like, so where do we go wrong?
Yeah.
In a very controlled setting, something like this can still happen. So like you were saying with education, I think that's the biggest takeaway.
Well, prayers to the families affected, man. I recently saw in one of your videos you were talking about some of the recent school shootings, and it's still probably a little early to kind of broach on that subject, but our hearts definitely go out to the people who were affected.
No doubt.
That gun definitely didn't walk into the school by itself, shoot everyone.
No, and I've actually been to Uvalde, so that one hit a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's a very small town. I didn't spend a whole lot of time there, but it definitely a very tight-knit community. So just completely tragic and mind-blowing that something like that can happen, that somebody can reach a state of mind in which that becomes an option.
Yeah, it's very sad. Well, let's change the subject a little.
All right.
Let's go on to something a little more humorous. Recently, our president, Joe Biden, made a comment on television about 9mm rounds being so dangerous that they actually blow the lung out of the chest cavity. And that's why you should carry a .22 instead.
So, working at a shop, I frequently hear that .22 will basically ping-pong ball around inside the body until it exits, which it doesn't. And then he said that it'll stick in the lung somewhere, and then the 9mm basically blood eagling people, and the Vikings would have loved that shortcut, right? So, yeah, it's another case, like we were saying, where we're just misinformed, tragically so.
Yeah.
I mean, just completely wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what doctor told him that. I don't know any situation.
That is 100% a complete lack of knowledge. You know, in my opinion, a .22 is just as dangerous as 9mm.
Absolutely.
You know, it's all about shot placement, accuracy. But, you know, in the end, really, these are all tools made to kill. Mm-hmm. So when we carry them, we carry a great responsibility with that. And I think we all take into consideration what type of round we're carrying and for what the purpose is for that round. But to say that on live television to the entire nation, completely misinformed, it just kind of steamrolls this media effect that has been happening, where the media comes out and says a bunch of untrue things about gun laws, and people who don't have knowledge, they look to the news for information, and so they take that as fact.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, even our president is completely misinformed about guns, which I find mind-boggling.
Well, I do think when you enter a role where you could be responsible for signing legislation and or voting on it, you have a responsibility to understand the topic, right? I wouldn't dream of I wouldn't dream of passing legislation on a subject I don't know much about, right? Like
Right.
Electric vehicles and batteries, and I don't understand that well enough. And instead of taking a step back and saying that, and I feel like that we just run with whatever cockamamie thing we can, and that's what you get is 9mm blowing lungs out.
Yeah, well, that's pretty humorous. I've got a couple of humorous things to show you. This is our meme section of the show, where we hand you a couple of memes and get your genuine reactions. So
All right.
here's the first one.
No way. That can't be true. Can't be true. The TV said so.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's funny. All right. Well, here's the next one.
And this is what they think is going to happen.
Yeah.
No, you can't do it. The sign said so. Which is, I think, is a good point to bring up. Like the communities that have super strict gun laws, like Chicago, you have to have, or the state of Illinois in general, you have to get a FOID card and go through this whole process to even be able to own guns. Chicago is one of the deadliest cities in the country.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, also let's just, again, bring up Uvalde and all these other places, like the hospital shooting in Texas. You know, was it in Texas?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, that's right. You know, these are gun-free zones.
Yep, absolutely.
These are places where people are basically completely unprotected. And criminals don't care about gun laws.
No.
They'll bring the gun to a gun-free zone.
Laws are just ink on paper. And the only thing that gives a law any kind of teeth is people's respect for the law or fear of the consequences. And basically all a law is a threat of force up to and including death, even for something like a seatbelt ticket.
Yeah.
Don't pay the ticket, you're going to get a court summons, don't go to court, warrant's going to be issued for your arrest, you resist arrest. You know, but at the end of the day, it's ultimately a threat of force. And if these are already going there, in a lot of cases, planning on dying or they take their own lives, the ink on paper about taking guns into school, they don't care. Or about murdering people, they don't care. So one more saying you can't use that type of gun. When I go back to the other thing, it's like, if you ban one type of gun, is it any less horrendous if somebody gets killed with a shotgun as opposed to an AR-15 or a pistol?
Yeah.
I mean, dead is dead.
Dead is dead. Well, that kind of leads us to our next subject a little bit. You know, Illinois' gun laws absolutely suck, but thankfully here in Georgia, we've got some better gun laws.
Yes.
And recently in April, Governor Kemp signed into law the new Constitutional Carry Act. And I saw that you recently made a video on your channel about it. Tell our viewers a little bit about that new law.
So constitutional carry, here in Georgia, you've always needed a carry permit to carry either open or concealed. We've done away with that requirement. You can, however, still get your permit, which in a lot of cases still makes sense for folks. I have people ask, you know, is it worth getting a permit? If you plan on buying a lot of firearms, then the answer is yes. It speeds up the background check process and makes it a little bit easier to plan that out as opposed to waiting on the FBI to clear it. It's also, I think, still a good idea if you're going to be doing traveling because there is reciprocity with other states. So, but essentially now you can carry a firearm in the state of Georgia as long as you're legally able to possess that firearm.
Concealed?
Concealed or open.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's kind of a topic.
One thing too, Nick, if you can let our audience know as well, that also does not stop people from going and getting a background check. You have to get a background check with a firearm.
Yes, it does not remove background check requirement. That's a federal requirement, and this is a state level law. So you do still have to wait on the FBI to give you permission.
Yes, thanks for that, Ryan.
Good point.
That's a very good point, and we do want to make sure that we educate people properly here on the channel. We don't want to spread any false information, but it's important for people to know the truth and the actual laws. And this is something that I think is going to be a deterrent for criminals in our state, because now you don't know who will be carrying. Really, everybody can possibly be carrying. It kind of puts that notion in someone's mind that, you know, maybe if I decide to pull my gun out and do something illegal, there might be some repercussions from behind me that I don't know.
It's one of the biggest things that I was shocked about, and I'm coming up on a year of working in a gun store, is the people come in and I try to play a game and say, okay, are they carrying? Where are they carrying? And some of the people that you would look at and be like, well, they're probably not carrying a gun. It's a little old lady. She'll pull out a 357 or you know, whatever. One lady the other day pulled out a H&K P30 SK that had been milled for a dot. She was like, my grandson set this all up for me. I was like, you have a very nice grandson. This is good to go. I had the light, cool. The RMR on there. I was very impressed. But yeah, it is absolutely, I think, a psychological deterrent. And it does remove, you know, a carry permit's what, $80? Yeah. So for a lot of families, I'm not too far removed from a time in my life where $80 was huge.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily have it to go pay for a card to carry a gun. So I do think there are people that are going to avail themselves of carrying where that cost may have been a hurdle before.
Yeah. Well, and also I've noticed a huge increase in first-time gun buyers here in our store, as well as people wanting to carry daily, and applications for carry permits have increased, especially here in the state of Georgia. Why do you think that is?
So one of the side effects, and I don't think the media meant to do it this way, but when you constantly report on crime, you constantly report on this whole nihilistic outlook on the world, people start saying, well, maybe it's not a bad idea to carry a gun. You see these shootings happen, you see crime rate, actually crime rate is down, which is the crazy thing, but the news makes it seem like this every day there's this possibility you're going to get mugged, and there is that chance. So people have started figuring out, especially with, I'm not slamming law enforcement, but they can't be everywhere at once.
Right.
Nationwide average response time is 12 minutes. Most encounters are over in like 30 seconds tops.
Yeah.
So people are saying, I'm going to take accountability for my own safety. We've noticed a lot more people buying ammo and going to the range and practicing, which is very important. So I think it's a good thing. People are starting to see that
Absolutely. Guys, just want to say this. If you're a first-time gun owner or looking to purchase your first gun, here's my recommendation to you. Go out to a range and take a beginner's pistol class first before you buy your first gun. They'll provide you with a gun, and they'll provide you with a variety of guns that you can try out, test out, and see what you like. But don't go to a gun store without any gun knowledge and buy a gun. That's not helping you, and that's not helping the community.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Nick, thank you, brother, for coming on.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you, and we look forward to doing some more videos with you in the future.
Absolutely, as do I.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit that little bell button. Guys, thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. We really appreciate that. If you have some extra time, check out our website, www.thekingofcamo.com. See what we have to offer. Also, we have a bunch of other really cool videos to watch right here.